I was taught as a child in parochial school to examine my conscience before going into confession. And the recommended way was to go over the 10 Commandments. Of course, back in my day, as we say, perhaps in your day, I'm not sure of that, back in my day, every good Catholic boy and girl could rattle off the 10 Commandments at command. I guess don't do it. First commandment, second commandment, and then, okay, so you examine your conscience. Okay. I would come to the very first commandment, which is, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have strange gods before me. And the second, which is very much like the first, sort of a specification of it. Thou shalt not make unto thyself any graven images, shalt not bow down before them. I think the shortened version is that we learned in school is, thou shalt not have false gods. Okay. And then, of course, order the third, which basically had to do with going to Mass on Sunday, and the fourth, that was the one we children were told to emphasize, honor thy father and thy mother, and then the killing and the adultery. I didn't know what adultery was back then. Still not sure. Seventh, stealing, lying, coveting neighbor's wife. Never coveted neighbor's wife or goods, etc. But it's the first and the second commandment that I always gave myself a pass on. Now, I'm not speaking as when I was a child, but I grew to be a man. Okay. I think a lot of people do. They say, well, I was some strange God before me. Okay, that strange God works many idols. Okay. Lots of luck to go. But in today's first reading, Paul, addressing the Thessalonians, says, in kind of a complimentary way, also kind of in a teaching way, and how you turned to God from idols to serve the living and true God. Okay. Idols. And you might say, I might be inclined to say it, as I give it some thought, that idols has been part of my life. Idols. Okay. What is an idol? An idol is an image. Oh, idol is an image. The ancient world was filled with idols that represented the various and sundry gods and goddesses. Practically every culture, as far as I know, had idols of gods and goddesses. Some of their names are still well known to us because some of those names got attached to the planets in our solar system. Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, Venus, Mars, Neptune, practically all of the planets named after gods. And in various and sundry towns in the ancient world, you could find idols, images, as people conceived of them, of these various and sundry gods and goddesses. And even the months of our year, not all of them, but many of them are named after gods and goddesses. June, what do we call the 6th month of our year? June, after Juno, also known as Hera, Juno. Who was Juno? Juno was, very interestingly, of course this is mythology, Juno was simultaneously Jupiter's sister and his wife. Get a little, wife, sister, wife. Okay. Ah, yeah. The days of our week are named after gods and goddesses. In this case, mostly Germanic gods, the gods of the North Country. Saturday, the day of Saturn, that's a Roman god. Monday, the day of the moon goddess. Oh, the moon goddess, yeah, moon goddess. Tuesday, that's a Germanic god. Wednesday, that's named after the chief Germanic god, Odin. Wodenstag. In English, Wednesday. Thursday, why Thursday? Thor, the god of thunder, lightning. Friday, Germanic goddess Fry. And even Sunday, the day of the sun, Apollo. So it's all filled with our past mythology. I don't see any harm to that. I'm not here to campaign for changing the names of the planets or the names of the months, the days of the week. It's a done deal. But it gives us some insight into the way our ancestors thought before they discovered the one true God and his Son, Jesus Christ. Some years ago, I found myself visiting the Archaeological Museum of the University of Pennsylvania. It's open to the public. You can go down there and visit. And you'll see some things there. You better not bring your grandmother with you, because you'll see some things there that will make your eyes go, ooh. The statues, some of them, many of them, which have been dug up and preserved, are, what would I call them? I would call them porn statues. Because the minds of ancient people were very much occupied with fertility, reproduction. Now, I don't want to go overboard in describing some of these images to you. Well, suffice it to say, they showed images which were rather gross of male gods with exaggerated male anatomy, very much exaggerated, and female goddesses, very much exaggerated female anatomy. To tell you the truth, I'm being quite honest here, I did not find them to be any kind of danger of sin to me. Why? Because they were so gross, which is yuck. But it's interesting to know that our ancestors kept those idols, if they were wealthy, in their houses, and saw those idols in their temples, and not only did they see them, but they handled them, because they were obsessed with sex. Obsessed with sex. And you and I are inclined to say, we're far removed from that. Sure we are. We simply do it electronically, graphically, digitally. You follow me? I'm trying to be somewhat delicate here, but I hope the point will be got across. So, does this have any relevance to us where Paul says to the Thessalonians, oh, by the way, I should throw this in, this letter, 1 Thessalonians, is, so they tell me, the very first piece of writing in the New Testament. This was written even before the Gospels were written. It's the first letter that Paul wrote, and it's the very first piece of New Testament scripture. So it's really old. Somewhere in my head, I think I remember the year 47 AD. Could be a little bit off, but somewhere. It's very early, very early. And Paul was saying, okay, I got you guys to turn away from your idols. Continue to turn away from them and turn toward God, the true God, and the Son, Jesus Christ. And stop being so obsessed with these idols. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that all of these idols, the gods and goddesses, that was all about sex. No, it was substantially about sex, but not all about them. It also had to do with war and one-upmanship. You read some of the stories in Greek and Roman mythology, and you find that these gods were anything but models of virtue or models of morality. Years ago, I was still in my 20s, and I was browsing through a library in college somewhere, and I pulled a book off the shelf and sat down and read some of it. And I think the name of the book was Moses and Monotheism. And it dawned on me, from courtesy of that book, that Moses did us all a great favor because he combined worship of God with morality. And I said, oh, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. That worship of God and morality goes. That was a new thing. I always thought it's an obvious thing. But no, it wasn't obvious to our ancestors. The gods and goddesses were immoral. Well, how did they come to be the gods and goddesses of people? Because the people took the worst of their own selves, personified it, and projected it up into the sky somewhere, and said, that's how Jupiter and Juno are, because that's how I am. Juno, the wife, sister of Jupiter, was always getting angry at her husband because he was always cheating on her. I said, but he was a god, he shouldn't cheat on her. But he did. Right? There's so many stories, they almost are humorous, of how Jupiter would play a trick on his wife and have consort with some woman, could be some goddess, some human woman, and then she would get furious and she'd get revenge, and hell would break loose in heaven. And you say, that's crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. The gods were engaged in perpetual one-upmanship with one another. And sometimes when they couldn't get a deal, they would make a deal with one another. Okay, I'll do this for you, you do this for me, because I can see that we're equal in power here, so we better compromise. There was no love. The pagan people had no concept that God, or the gods, loved them. To them, the gods were super powerful beings, and you better do deals with them so that they treat you well. That's a principle of life for many people, is it not? Hey, you got some stuff I want. I think I got some stuff you want. Let's make a deal. Okay? And if I can bamboozle you a little bit, I'll be happy. Well, no, you try to bamboozle me, I'll declare war on you, etc., etc. That's what pagan religion really amounted to. It amounted to sexual excess, pornography, cheating in one's dealings. It had little or nothing to do with love. Moses introduced something brand new. He said all of those gods are, fill in the blank, stupid. They don't exist. There's only one God, and that one God is just, and he is moral, and he is loving. And then we find out that even Moses gets surpassed because God enters history in the person of his own Son and shows us what love is by taking the cross and being crucified to it, and by renewing and ennobling human nature. Well, I could elaborate more on that, but maybe that's enough. Here's the message, brothers and sisters, from Paul, adapted somewhat from me. Brothers and sisters, congratulations on forsaking the idols and turning to the one true God and his Son Jesus. Good for you. Now keep on doing it, because those idols are angry at you and they want you back, and they will try to entice you via magazines, internet, other person. Come back, come back, come back. We poor idols, we miss you. Come, take our embrace, kiss us. Come back, come back. Think about us, think about us. Please, please, we'll show you all sorts of delights. Come back, come back, come back. And God says, not that. You've been there, you've done that, and you were a sorry person for it. Come back to me, because only in me you have life, meaning, and resurrection.